I know most of these probably won't be a surprise, but there are a few surprises in here. Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, going to be doing my top 10 books for quarter two because somehow we are already halfway through this year and that is just crazy. So we're going to talk through and go through and talk about each one and see. And like I said, I think a lot of these will probably not be a huge surprise, but there were a few I wasn't expecting to be in here until I went and looked back, and they deserve to be here. Also, side note, doing something a little bit different with both audio and video today. So let me know if you notice a difference, or if you don't, that's fine too. Let's jump in. All right, so starting with number 10, we have The Guns of Avalon, which is book 2 in this collection, The Great Book of Amber. I had been meaning to try this out for quite a while, and I finally did read the first two right in a row. And the first one, I feel like maybe rereading I would enjoy more. Like, I liked it, but I was so confused by like what is happening here. And so then when I went and I read the second one, immediately I kind of had a better feel of what I was getting into. And it's odd. It's really different and unique. And just the whole idea here where there's like this other world of Amber. It's like the true world, and you can kind of like travel through different fragments, or like it's almost like dimensions, but the sort of thing as well, and going through. And it's our main character who's trying to get an army from one of these kind of sorts of splinters in the land of Avalon. But there's so much more to it, and it's just it was such a crazy time. I'm very interested to continue. This does have the 10 all in here, and so I will most certainly be continuing and finding out hopefully more. And I feel like I've just scratched the surface with Amber, but I'm excited to get to more. Then coming in at number 9 was Dragon Champion by E.E. Knight, which was definitely a surprise because this was a random pick I did for a prompt for Readathon, where the first random one I did, where I just did a random number generator compared to my book list, I ended up DNFing, and so I did another one and got this, and I'm like, I forgot I even had this, and I'd meant to forever, and I really had a lot of fun with this. This isn't like oh, this is amazing, or it's doing anything really like out there groundbreaking, but it's a dragon POV, and it was so much fun, especially early on with the dragon kind of just like growing up and like talking to people, interactions. I had a lot of fun, and it gets more serious, and it's my understanding that the other books in the series actually follow some different POVs before it kind of comes back together, so I'm really interested. But I had a really good fun time with this one. If you like dragons, and especially dragon POVs, that's not something you get a ton. This is a great one to check out. I had a lot of fun with it. And then next up, we had, I give it to Abhorsen, meaning the third book in Abhorsen Chronicles, the original 3. And I read all 3 of these for a readathon because they're kind of short books, and this whole thing is the trilogy, the bind-up. And it was one of those things where like, each individual book was not 5 stars, but the last one I gave 5 stars because like the cumulative trilogy I felt like was really great in what it did, although like each individual book kind of had some issues too. But this is one where I knew that it was younger reading, and it's something that I meant to read for forever, but it was also a bit more grown up than I was expecting, a bit darker than I was expecting, and just did a lot of really cool and complex things, and something that I really enjoyed. I know there are more books in the series now. I think the next one is Goldenham, so I will definitely be checking that out because I read some of Garth Nix's other stuff that was more even younger reading when I was a kid, and I always meant to read Sabriel, and I never did, and so I finally have, and I had a really good time with it, so that deserves a spot here at number 8. So then we have for number 7, the only one I don't yet have physically because it just came out, but that is The Crimes of Rooker, Flynn, by A.R. Witham, which I got an advanced copy, and so I mostly finished before it came out, but I was still finishing the day that it did come out. This was also not what I was expecting whatsoever. I expected to enjoy this, but I really didn't know what I was getting into with this, because this is also a little bit more grown up and a little darker than the last one in a lot of ways. And if you just look at the marketing, like the images and the illustrations around this too, gives you an idea. This is something a little bit different, but it still has a lot of the magic from the first one, where it kind of gives you some nostalgia, even though it's not something that you've read before. And so it's not quite that. It's not the coming of age of the first one. We're branching into new territory, which I think works really well. I will be actually having very soon, it might be out by the time this comes out, actually. I should have a review. So if the review's out, I will link it down below. for this one. I think actually I should probably link reviews for most of these, so we'll see. I should probably link reviews for most of these, yeah. But anyway, this was really good. I'm really excited to get to the second one as well, which I think comes out in January, because there's a lot happening here, and I'm really interested to see where this continues to develop. So that one was number 7. So then going into number 6. And there were a couple here, 6 and 5. I wasn't sure where to put because based on how I rated them. But for number 6, I put The Illustrated Man by Ray Bradbury, partially just because I always feel like with a short story collection, it's kind of hard to rank it specifically above, because I loved this. I had a fantastic time reading it. Overall, I did rate it 5 stars, but also there's some I really liked, there's some I really didn't, and so kind of trying to get that overall experience, even though I think this is fantastic. And I talked a lot about this. I did in a vlog. I also had a review come out wholly for it too, talking a ton about The Illustrated Man. So really enjoyed it, and it's made me really want to check out more Ray Bradbury. But I felt like everything else I have on the list just edged out just a little bit, including what we have next for number 5. Which really is a surprise, and I debated on where to put this too, because it still surprises me how much I actually enjoyed this, but Fireborn by Rosaria Munda. And this is a YA book. And as I've said many times before, I don't tend to be a huge fan of YA. I don't tend to enjoy it as much. But this is so good. And it's good for a lot of different reasons. And I heard a lot of people talk about the politics and the factions, but really this is just character-driven fantasy at its best. The characters that we're exploring here, their relationship with each other, and just the situation they find themselves in, it's great. It's compelling. It gets dark. And it still kills me that it was written to be YA, because you could take out all of the generic YA elements and have in my opinion at least, much better story. Would it be as marketable? Probably not, because YA is popular for a reason. But there was just so much here, and it's such a deep character-focused story that even though I'm not typically a character reader, I just found myself engrossed in this book. I will certainly be continuing in the series, which I thought it was going to be like, it's fine, DNF, or not DNF necessarily, but either a DNF or an unhaul. And instead, I really, really enjoyed it. And if it just only was not, if it was written to be an adult book, because you could have made, I commented in my review for it too, you could have made a few minor tweaks, take out the YA stuff, go a little darker, and have this very much fit into grimdark. There's so much you could have done with it, and what's in it is so well done. So yeah, that one definitely made sense there. And then getting into the last 4, which we have a pretty stacked group here as well. In at number 4 is The Master of Whitstorm by Janie Wirtz. I read a Janie book. No surprise that a Janie book is going to be in my top 10 for whatever period that I didn't read it in. And Master of Whitstorm was another one, which I feel like this was a month of, or not a month, I suppose a quarter of surprises, because Master of Whitstorm, I didn't really know a ton about it. I had talked to Janie a little bit about it, so I knew some basic information, but this one's really more sword and sorcery, which is not really any of the other stuff. And I this is the, until we get some new ones, this is the last Janie solo novel that I had needed to read. I'd read all of the other stuff that she's published solo, at least. I'll get to Empire too. Excited for that. But so this one is quite different. And the sword and sorcery kind of feel like the adventures is not usually something that works that great for me, but I loved this one because she did so much more and added so much more depth to not only the character, to the world, to the story. And so instead of being those kind of shallow stories that you get with some of the old school sword and sorcery, it has that feel of the old school sword and sorcery, at least to me, but with a lot more depth to it, which is made it even more enjoyable. And then we had one where it's a book that I was hoping that I would like, and it sounded really good. And until I read it, I wasn't, of course, sure I was going to feel about it as well here too. Which I feel like at this part, it's the fact that if you know things I read, you probably kind of know what's coming at least a little bit. But in at number 3 is The Bloodstones by Tori Tekken, which is the first book of Legends of the Bruhai. And this is just a blistering, fast-paced, exciting novel that's doing all kinds of cool stuff. while never really feeling like it's taking too long or doing anything like that. Now, I definitely like my chunky books, and I definitely have a lot of favorites that do a ton of extra exposition and description and things like that too, and I really enjoy that. But I was just impressed with how well this novel just flowed from start to finish. It always felt like it was moving. It always felt like there were stakes. It did so many things that I just absolutely loved. And a lot of the things that have stood out here too is the choices that were made with characters and character arcs, where you would normally expect like, oh, this is going to happen with this character, and instead things were different. And it makes sense because the characters are built really in a really strong way. And it's also one of those books too that it's like it's absolutely a setup book without ever feeling like a setup book, which is also really hard to do. And so this is one I feel like just my excitement for this series in general I think has definitely upped it. But it's just was really good, really well done. It just really phenomenally done first book in the series, and one I'm very excited to continue as well because there was so much that's just kind of being brought up and just kind of starting, and so many scenes I'm looking forward to. And whenever I feel myself spiraling like that into thinking about a book, it's a sign that it's great. So getting down to number 2 and number 1 here, probably not much of a surprise, but at number 2 we have A Song for Arbonne by Guy Gavriel Kay, and at number 1 we have The Lions of Alberan by Guy Gavriel Kay. That's right, GGK with the sweep here. It was probably going to be so. A Song for Arbonne these are also the first 2 Guy Gavriel Kay books that I've read. I should note as well, and man, what a strong start. Lions of Alberan is, gosh, this year is going to be, there's going to be such steep competition for my top 10 books of the year, but Lions of Alberan is already jumped up to being one of my favorite standalone novels of all time. I absolutely loved it. It was such a great introduction to this author and to starting, and I feel like I could not have started with a better book because I absolutely loved it and had an amazing time with it. So I talked a lot about that in a review as well, and then I'm just following basically the order that Joanna read them. So she did Song for Arbonne next, I did this, and this is definitely, like, this was not a difficult decision. Lions is definitely a higher than Song is for me. However, Song for Arbonne was also an easy 5 stars and just a masterfully written novel. Also, so much done in a standalone, a little bit more focused on music than medicine like Lions was. But I have reviews for both of these books where I talked about them, but they're just, Guy Gavriel Kay is just a masterful storyteller, and I absolutely just enjoyed the heck out of these, and I cannot wait. I've not been so excited to read an author's entire body of work since Janie Wirtz, so it was really the perfect time to discover Guy Gavriel Kay and finally start reading him, because this will time me over until I get me some more Wirtz for sure, because I've been having a phenomenal time with his stuff. So though, those are my top 10 books of the second quarter. Let me know if there's anything in there that surprised you or that you think you would have ranked differently, as well as what some of your favorite books of this last quarter were as well. I always love to hear from you and see that sort of thing. So let me know in the comments. Make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Check the link in the description, as always, for the Wizardly Enclave Discord if you want to chat books, whether these books, other books, really anything at all. It's a lot of fun and we'd love to have you. And of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.